Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agnanatimirandasya Ananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamahyam Darati Svapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapatakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahaganaragunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savarutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaganalalita Sri Visakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Kopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrisabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhupya Evacha Patitanam Pavanepyo Vaishnavepyo Namo Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Shrinvatam Svakata Krishna Punyashravana Kirtana Ridyandastoya Bhadrani Vidunoti Suhrit Satam Nastaprayesva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Before reciting the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Shravyasadev, the author. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul, in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtues when properly heard and chanted. By regular attendance in the classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. Loving service unto the personality of God, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhu's, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhu ki jai. Thank you for joining, Prabhu.
Jai Prabhu ki jai.
Really nice to have you here.
Yes, sir.
Who wants to read first today? Oh, you came for the pizza, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I read some verses?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you. Text 38. Sri Sukavacha Sampratishaivam Ajanu Jananam Parameshtinam Pashyatas Tasya Tadruvam Atmano Nyarunadari. Sri Sukavacha, Sri Shukadev Goswami said, Sampradishya, thus fully instructing Brahmaji, Evam, thus Ajana, the Supreme Lorder, Jananam, of the living entities, Parameshtinam, unto the Supreme Leader, Brahma, Pashyata, while he was seeing, Tasya, his, Tad Rupam, that transcendental form, Atmana, of the Absolute, Nirunat, disappeared, Hari, the Lord, the personality of Godhead. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, after being seen in his transcendental form, instructing Brahmaji, the leader of the living entities, disappeared, said Shukadev Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. Purport. In this verse, it is clearly mentioned that the Lord is Ajana, or the, and he was showing his transcendental form, Atmano Rupam, to Brahmaji while he was instructing him in the summarization Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in 4 verses. He is Ajana, or the supreme amongst Jananam, or all persons. All living entities are individual persons, and amongst all such persons, Lord Hari is supreme, as it is confirmed in the Shruti Nityo Nityanam, Chetanas Chetananam. So there is no place for impersonal features in the transcendental world, as there are impersonal features in the material world. Whenever there is Chetana or knowledge, the personal feature comes in. In the spiritual world, everything is full of knowledge, and therefore everything in the transcendental world is personal. Nothing is impersonal there. In the transcendental world, the land, the water, the tree, the mountain, the river, the man, the animal, the bird, and everything are all of the same quality, namely Chetana, and therefore everything there is individual and personal. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam gives us this information as the supreme Vedic literature, and it was personally instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to Brahmaji, so that the leader of the living entities might broadcast the message to all in the universe in order to teach the supreme knowledge of Bhakti Yoga. Brahmaji, in his turn, instructed Narada, his beloved son, the same message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and Narada, in his turn, taught the same to Vyasadeva, who again taught it to Shukadeva Goswami, and through Shukadeva Goswami's grace, and by the mercy of Maharaj Parikshit, we are all given Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, perpetually to learn the science of the absolute personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Text 39. Antarhidendriyarthaya Hare Vihidanjali Sarvabhutamayo Vishwam Sasarjedam Sa Puruvat. Antarhita, on disappearance. Indriya Arthaya, unto the personality of Godhead, the objective of all senses. Hare, unto the Lord. Vihida Anjali, in folded hands. Sarvabhuta, all living entities. Maya, full of. Vishwam, the universe. Sasarja, created. Idam, this. Sa, he. Brahmaji. Puruvavat, exactly like before. Translation. On the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, who is the object of transcendental enjoyment for the sense of devotees, Brahma, with folded hands, began to recreate the universe full with living entities as it was previously. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari is the object for fulfilling the sense of all living entities. Illusioned by the glaring reflection of the external energy, the living entities worship the senses instead of engaging them properly in fulfilling the desires of the Supreme. In the Hari Bhakti Sudhodaya, there is the following verse: Akshino phalam twadrisham darshanam hi tano phalam twadrisha gatra sangha jihva phalam twadrisha kirtanam hi sudurlabha bhagavatam hi loge. O devotee of the Lord, the purpose of the visual sense is fulfilled simply by seeing you, and to touch your body is the fulfillment of this bodily touch. The tongue is meant for glorifying your qualities, because in this world it is very difficult to find a pure devotee of the Lord. Originally, the senses of the living entity were awarded for this purpose, namely to engage them in transcendental loving service of the Lord or that of his devotees. But the conditioned souls, illusioned by material energy, became captivated by sense enjoyment. Therefore, the whole process of God consciousness is meant to rectify the conditional activities of the senses and to re-engage them in the direct service of the Lord. Lord Brahma thus engaged his senses in the Lord by recreating the conditioned living entities to act in the recreated universe. This material universe is thus created and annihilated by the will of the Lord. It is created to give a chance to the conditioned soul to act to return home, back to Godhead, and servants like Brahmaji, Naradaji, and their company became busy with the same purpose of the Lord, to reclaim the conditioned souls from the field of sense gratification and return them to the normal stage of engaging the senses in service of the Lord. Instead of doing so, that is, converting the actions of the senses the impersonals began to make the conditioned souls senseless, and the Lord also senseless. That is improper treatment for the conditioned soul. The diseased condition of the senses may be treated by curing the defect, but not uprooting it altogether. When there is some disease in the eyes may be cured to see properly. Plucking out the eyes is no treatment. Similarly, the whole material disease is based on the process of sense gratification, and liberation from the disease condition is to re-engage the senses to see the beauty of the Lord, hear His glories, and act on His account. Thus Brahmaji recreated the universal activities again. Text 40. Prajavadir Dharmavadir Egada Niyaman Yaman Badram Prajanam Anvichan Adishtat Swarta Kamyaya. Prajapati, the forefather of all living entities. Dharmapati, the father of religious life. Egada, once upon a time. Niyaman, the rules and regulations. Yaman, principles of control. Badram, welfare. Prajanam, of the living beings. Anvichan, desiring. Adishtat, situated. So artha, own interest. Kamyaya, so desiring. Translation. Thus, once upon a time, the forefather of living entities and the father of religiousness, Lord Brahma, situated in the acts of regulative principles, desiring self-interest for the welfare of all living entities. Purport. No one can be situated in a position without having undertaken a regulative life of rules and regulations. An unrestricted life of sense gratification is animal life, and Lord Brahma, in order to teach all concerned within the jurisdiction of his generations, taught the same principle of sense control for executing higher duties. He desired the welfare of everyone as servants of God, and anyone desiring the welfare of the members of his family and generations must conduct a moral, religious life. The highest life of moral principle is to become a devotee of the Lord, because one who is a pure devotee of the Lord has all the good qualities of the Lord. On the other hand, one who is not a devotee of the Lord, however qualified he may be in the mundane sense of the term, cannot be qualified with any good quality worthy of the name. The pure devotees of the Lord, like Brahma and persons in the chain of disciplic succession, do not do anything to instruct their subordinates without acting accordingly themselves. Text 41. Tam Narada Priyatamo Riktadhanam Anuvrita Su Shushrushamana Silena Prasrayena Dhamena Cha. Tam, unto him, Narada, the great sage Narada, Priyatama, very dear, Riktadhanam, of the inheritor sons, Anuvrata, very obedient, Shusrusa Mana, always ready to serve, Silena, by good behavior, Prasrayena, by meekness, Dhamena, by sense control, Cha, also. Translation. Narada, the most dear of the inheritor sons of Brahma, always ready to serve his father, strictly follows the instructions of his father by his mannerly behavior, meekness, and sense control. Text 42. Mayam Vividishan Vishnur Mayeshaya Mahamuni Mahabhagavado Rajan Pitaram Paryado Shayad. Mayam, energies, Vividishan, desiring to know, Vishnu, of the personality of Godhead, Maya Ishaya, of the master of all energies, Mahamuni, the great sage, Mahabhagavata, the first class devotee of the Lord, Rajan, O king, Pitaram, unto his father, Payadoshayat, very much pleased. Translation. Narada very much pleased his father and desired to know all about the energies of Vishnu, the master of all energies, for he, Narada, was the greatest of all sages and greatest of all devotees, O king. Purport. Lord Brahma, being the creator of all living beings in the universe, is originally the father of several well-known sons like Daksha, Sanaka, and Narada. In three departments of human knowledge, namely fruitive work, Karmakanda, transcendental knowledge, Jnanakanda, and devotional service, Upasanakanda, disseminated by the Vedas, Devarshi Narada inherited from his father Brahma devotional service, whereas the Dakshas inherited from their father fruitive work, and Sanaka, Sanadana, etc., inherited from their father information about Jnanakanda or transcendental knowledge. But out of them all, Narada is described here as the most beloved son of Brahma because of good behavior, obedience, meekness, and readiness to render service unto the Father. And Narada is famous as the greatest of all sages because of his being the greatest of all devotees. Narada is the spiritual master of many famous devotees of the Lord. He is spiritual master of Prahlada, Dhruva, and Vyasa, down to the forest animal hunter Kirada. His only business is to turn everyone to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Therefore, all these features of Narada make him the dearmost son of his father, and all this is due to Narada's being a first class devotee of the Lord. The devotees are always anxious to know more and more about the Supreme Lord, the master of all energies, as is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Mad-chitta Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam Kadayandascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti cha Ramanti cha. The Supreme Lord is unlimited and his energies are also unlimited. No one can know them completely. Brahmaji, being the greatest living entity within this universe and being directly instructed by the Lord, must know more than anyone within this universe. And although such knowledge may not be complete, and thus it is the to ask about the unlimited Lord from the spiritual master in the disciplic succession of Brahma, while which descends from Brahma to Vyasa, from Vyasa to Shivadeva, and so on. Hare Krishna. Anyone else can read, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Okay, who wants to read next?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanur Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I'll read Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, text 43. Tushyam nishamya pitaram lokanam prapitamaham devarshihi paripapracha bhavan yan manuprichati. Synonyms. Tushtam, satisfied. Nishamya, after seeing. Pitaram, the father. Lokanam, of the whole universe. Prapitamaham, the great grandfather. Devarshihi, the great sage Narada. Paripapracha, inquired. Bhavan, yourself, yet as it is, ma, from me. Anuprichati, inquiring. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. The great sage Narada also inquired in detail from his father Brahma, the great grandfather of all the universe, after seeing him well satisfied. Purport. The purpose of understanding spiritual or transcendental knowledge from the realized person is not exactly like asking an ordinary question from the schoolmaster. The schoolmasters in the modern days are paid agents for giving some information, but the spiritual master is not a paid agent, nor can he impart instruction without being authorized. In the Bhagavad Gita, the process of understanding transcendental knowledge is directed as follows: Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprakshena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnanis tattvadarshinaha. Jnaninaha tattvadarshinaha. Arjuna was advised to receive transcendental knowledge from the realized person by surrender, questions, and service. Receiving transcendental knowledge is not like exchanging dollars. Such knowledge has to be received by service to the spiritual master. As Brahmaji received the knowledge directly from the Lord by satisfying him fully, similarly, one has to receive the transcendental knowledge from the spiritual master by satisfying him. The spiritual master's satisfaction is the means of assimilating transcendental knowledge. One cannot understand transcendental knowledge simply by becoming a grammarian. The Vedas declared, Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tatha gurau tasyaiti katitha yardha prakashante mahatmanaha. Only unto one who has unflinching devotion to the Lord and to the spiritual master does transcendental knowledge become automatically revealed. Such a relationship between the disciple and the spiritual master is eternal. One who is now the disciple in the next is the next spiritual master, and one cannot be a bona fide and authorized spiritual master unless one has been strictly obedient to his spiritual master. Brahmaji, as disciple of the Supreme Lord, received the real knowledge and imparted it to his dear disciple Narada, and similarly, Narada, as spiritual master, handed over this knowledge to Vyasa, and so on. Therefore, the so called formal spiritual master and disciple are not facsimiles, facsimiles of Brahma and Narada, or Narada or Vyasa. The relationship between Brahma and Narada is reality, while the so called formality is the relation between the cheater and the cheated. It is clearly mentioned here with that Narada is not only well behaved, meek, and obedient, but is also self controlled. One who is not self controlled, specifically in sex life, can neither become a disciple nor a spiritual master. One must have disciplinary training in controlling speaking, anger, tongue, mind, belly, and the genitals. One who has controlled the particular senses mentioned above is called a Goswami. Without becoming a Goswami, one can neither become a disciple nor a spiritual master. The so called spiritual master without sense control is clear, certainly the cheater, and the disciple of such a so called spiritual master is the cheated. One should not think of Brahmaji as a dead great grandfather, as we have experienced in this planet. He is the oldest great grandfather and he is still living, and Narada is also living. The age of the inhabitants of the Brahmaloka planet is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. The inhabitants of this small planet Earth can hardly calculate even the duration of one day of Brahma. Text part 4. तस्मा इदं भागवतं पुराणं स दश लक्षणं प्रोक्तं भगवता प्राह प्रीतः पुत्राय भूतकृत्. Synonyms: Tasmai, thereupon, idam, this, Bhagavatam, the glories of the Lord or the signs of the Lord, Puranam, Vedic supplementary, Dasha Lakshanam, 10 characteristics, Proktam, described, Bhagavata, by the personality of Godhead, Praha, said, Pritaha, in satisfaction, Putraya, unto the son, Bhotakrit, the creator of the universe. Translation. Thereupon, the supplementary Vedic literature Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which was described by the personality of Godhead and contains 10 characteristics, was told by the father Brahma to his son Narada with satisfaction. Purport. Although the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam was spoken in 4 verses, it had 10 characteristics which will be explained in the next chapter. In the 4 verses, it is first said that the Lord existed before the creation, and thus the beginning of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam includes the Vedanta aphorism. Janmadhyasya. Janmadhyasya is the beginning. At the 4 verses in which it is said that the Lord is the root of everything that be, beginning from the creation up to the supreme abode of the Lord, naturally explain the 10 characteristics. One should not misunderstand by wrong interpretations that the Lord spoke only 4 verses and therefore all the rest of the 17,994 verses are all useless. The 10 characteristics, as will be explained in the next chapter, require so many verses just to explain them properly. Brahmaji also advised Narada previously that he should expand the idea that he had heard from Brahmaji. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed this to Srila Rupa Goswami in a nutshell, but the disciple Rupa Goswami expanded this very elaborately, and the same subject was further expanded by Jiva Goswami and even further by Sri Viswanath Chakravarti Thakur. We are just trying to follow in the footsteps of all these authorities. So, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is not like ordinary fiction or mundane literature. It is unlimited in strength, and however, one may expand it to one's own capacity. Bhagavatam still cannot be finished by such expansion. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, being the sound representation of the Lord, is simultaneously explained in 4 verses as well as in 4 billions of verses, all the same. In as much as the Lord is smaller than the atom and bigger than the unlimited sky. Such is the potency of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Text 45. नारदः प्राह मुनये सरस्वत्यास्तते तटे नृप ध्यायते ब्रह्म परमं व्यासायामित तेजसे. Synonyms. Narada, the great sage Narada, Praha instructed Munaye unto the great sage Saraswatyaha of the river Saraswati, Tate on the bank, Dripa, O king, Vyayate unto the meditative Brahma, absolute truth, Paramam, the supreme, Vyasaya unto Srila Vyasadeva, Amita, unlimited Tejase, unto the powerful. Translation. In succession, O king, the great sage Narada instructed Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam unto the unlimitedly powerful Vyasadeva, who meditated in devotional service upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, on the bank of the river Saraswati. Purport. In the 5th chapter of the first canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Narada instructed the great sage Vyasadeva as follows. Ato Mahabhaga Bhavan Amogedrik Suchi Shravaha Satya Rato Dhrita Vrataha Urukramas Yakhilla Bandha Muktaye Samadhi Anusmara Nanusmara Tad Vichestitam. O greatly fortunate, pious philosopher, your name and fame are universal, and you are fixed in the absolute truth with a spotless character and infallible vision. I ask you to meditate upon the activities of the personality of Godhead, whose activities are unparalleled. So, in the disciplic section of the Brahma Sampradaya, the practice of yoga meditation is not neglected. But because the devotees are bhakti yogis, they do not undertake the trouble to meditate upon the impersonal Brahman, but as is indicated here on Brahma Paramam, or the Supreme Brahman. Brahman realization begins from the impersonal effulgence, but by further progress of such meditation, manifestation of the Supreme Soul, Paramatma realization takes place, and progressing further, realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is fixed. Sri Narada Muni, as the spiritual master of Vyasadeva, knew very well the position of Vyasadeva, and thus he certified the qualities of Srila Vyasadeva as fixed in the absolute truth with great vow, etc. He advised meditation upon the transcendental activities of the Lord. Impersonal Brahman, can you scroll up a bit? Now, impersonal Brahman has no activities, but the personality of Godhead has many activities, and all such activities are transcendental without any tinge of material quality. If the activities of the Supreme Brahman would have been material activities, then Narada would not have advised Vyasadeva to meditate upon them. And the Parama Brahman is Lord Sri Krishna, as is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. In the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna realized the factual position of Lord Krishna, he addressed Lord Krishna in the following words. परम ब्रह्म परम धाम पवित्रम परमं भवान् पुरुषं शाश्वतं दिव्यम् आदिदेवम् अजं विभुम् आहुस्त्वां ऋषयः सर्वे देवर्षिर्नारदस्तथा असितो देवलो व्यासः स्वयं चैव ब्रवीषि मे. Bhagavad Gita 10.12 and 13. Arjuna, summarized the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita by his realization of Lord Sri Krishna and thus said, "My dear personality of Godhead, you are the supreme absolute truth, the original person in the eternal form of bliss and knowledge." And this is confirmed by Narada, Ashita, Devala, and Vyasadeva, and above all, your person self has also confirmed it. When Vyasadeva fixed his mind in meditation, he did it in Bhakti Yoga, trance, and actually saw the supreme person with Maya, the illusionary energy, in contraposition. As we have discussed before, the Lord's Maya or illusion is also a representation because Maya has no existence without the Lord. Darkness is not independent of light. Without light, no one can experience the contraposition of darkness. But this Maya or illusion cannot overcome the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but stands apart from him. Apashrayam. Therefore, perfection of meditation is to realize the personality of Godhead along with his transcendental activities. Meditation on the impersonal Brahman is a troublesome business for the meditator, as is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. क्लेशोधिकत्रस् तेषाम् अव्यक्तासक्त चेतसाम्. Bhagavad Gita 12.5. Text 46. यदुत्ताहं त्वया पृष्टो वैराजात् पुरुषाद् इदं यथाशीत् तद् उपाख्यास्ते प्रश्नान् अन्यांश्च कृतश्नः synonyms. Yat, what. Uta is, however. Aham, I. Tvaya, by you. Prishtaha, I am asked. Vairajat, from the universal form. Purushat, from the personality of Godhead. Idam, this world. Yatha, as is. Ashit, Asit, was. Tat, that. Upakyaste, I shall explain. Prashnan, all the questions. Anyan, others. Cha, as well as. Krishna Saha, in great detail. Translation. O King, your questions as to how the universe became manifested from the gigantic form of the personality of Godhead, as well as other questions, I shall answer in detail by the explanation of the 4 verses already mentioned. Purport. As stated in the beginning of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, this great transcendental literature is the ripened fruit of the tree of Vedic knowledge. Ripened fruit of the tree of Vedic knowledge, and therefore all questions that can be humanly possible regarding the universal affairs, beginning from its creation, are all answered in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It depends only on the qualification of the person who explains the 10 divisions of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as explained by the great speaker Srila Sukadeva Goswami. Are the limitation of all questions, and intelligent persons will derive all intellectual benefits from them by proper utilization. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the second canto, 9th chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled Answers by citing the Lord's version. Text, chapter 10. Yeah, Dheeraj Prabhu, you can start reading from here.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, dear duties, Dandat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna
Canto
Prabhu.
2, yes. Canto 2, Chapter 10, Text 1. Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. Oh, this is very important verse. So, text 1. Shri Shuka Vacha. Atra Sarga Visargascha Sthanam Poshanamutaya Manvantare Shanukatha Nirodha Muktirashraya. Synonyms. Shri Shuka Vacha. Shukadev Goswami said, Atra, in this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Sarga, the statements of the creation of the universe. Visarga, statement of subcreation. Cha, also. Sthanam, the planetary system. Poshanam, protection. Uteha, creative impetus. Manvantara, changes of Manus. Ishanukatha, science of God. Nirodha, going back home, back to Godhead. Mukti, liberation. Ashraya, the Saman Bonam. Translation: Sri Shukadev Goswami said, in the Bhagavatam, there are 10 divisions of statements regarding the following: creation of the universe, subcreation, planetary systems, protection of the Lord, creative impetus, change of the manus, science of God, return to home, back to Godhead, liberation, and this Saman Bonam. So, actually, so this 10 divisions, so these 10 topics can be mapped to the 10 cantos of Bhagavatam. Starting from, can you go up, Sami Prabhu? Up the first verse. Yeah. So you can see that Sarga means the Atra Sarga. Sarga means the first creation. So it can be mapped to third canto. Visarga means fourth canto, the subcreation. Sthanam means the fifth canto, the planetary system. Means in the fifth canto, we know that the planetary system means the hellish planets are described in the last chapter of the fifth canto. So this is Sthanam. And Poshanam, it is sixth canto, means protection. In sixth canto also, we know that Ajamil was given protection. So as he chanted verse Narayana, so it is protection. And seventh canto is Utaya, creative impetus. Means Prahlad Maharaj and Hiranyakashipu. So two different kinds of personality they were mentioned. So impetus means the urge. So Hiranyakashipu was having bad urge, and Prahlad Maharaj, it was having good intentions from inside. So it is impetus. And eighth canto is Manvantara. So the changes of Manu is described in eighth canto. Ishanu Katha means science of God. In ninth canto, the science of God means Lord Ramchandra's pastimes and other incarnations of gods. The pastimes has been mentioned in ninth canto. And Nirodha means 10th canto is going back home, back to Godhead. So it is Krishna's divine pastimes are mentioned. So Golok Vrindavan, it is home, 10th canto. 11th canto is liberation mukti, and 12th canto is the Saman Bonam. Means the ultimate essence is Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam, the last verse. So these 10 topics are covered in 10th canto, starting from 3rd. I
Yes.
just remember this from one of the lectures. So I just wanted to share. Yes, Hare Krishna. I can continue now.
Yes, Prabhu. 1 second. My Zoom is not.
And one more point to be added is, see, there are so many Puranas, 18 Puranas and 18 sub-Puranas as well. So any literature will be called as Purana only when it describes all these 10 different divisions. Okay, so there is no Purana in this universe which does not describe any of this. It is called as Purana only when it describes all these 10 or 11 characteristics of the creation.
Yes, Prabhu. And Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is Mahapurana, the topmost of all Puranas.
Exactly. But other Puranas like Agni Purana, Garuda Purana, Brahma Vaivarta Purana, Brahma Purana, there are other Puranas as well. I don't remember. Matsya Purana.
Yeah,
And
18 are there.
yeah, Vishnu Purana, Vayu Purana, Varaha Purana, Vamana Purana, Skanda, Padma, Naradiya, Matsya, Markandeya. So every Purana will start describing all these 10 divisions.
Mhm.
Otherwise, they are not called as Puranas at all.
Yes, Prabhu. Okay. So I'll continue. Text 2. Dasamasya Vishuddhyartham Navanam Ilakshanam Varnayanti Mahatmana Shrutenarthena Chanjasa. Synonyms: Dashamasya, of the Saman Bonam, Vishuddhi, isolation, Artham, purpose, Navanam, of the other 9, Iha, in this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Lakshanam, symptoms, varnayanti, they describe. Mahatmanah, Mahatmanah, the great sages. Shrutena, by Vedic evidences. Arthena, by direct explanation. Cha, or Anjasa, summary. Translation: in order to eliminate transcendence of the summum bonum, the symptoms of the rest are described sometimes by Vedic inference, sometimes by direct explanation, and sometimes by some summary explanation given by the great sages. Text 3. भूतमात्रेन्द्रियाध्येया जन्म सर्ग विधार्थ ब्रह्मणो गुणवैषम्यात् विसर्ग पुरुषा स्मृता. Synonyms: Bhuta, the five gross elements like the sky, etc. Matra, objects perceived by the senses. Indriya, the senses. Dhyam, of the mind. Janma, creation. Sarga, manifestation. Udarita is called the creation. Brahmana, of Brahma, the first Purusha. Guna Vaishamyat, by interaction of the three modes of nature. Visarga, the creation. Purusha, resultant activities. Smrita, it is so known. Translation: the elementary creation of 16 items of matter, namely the five elements are fire, water, land, air, and sky. Sound, form, taste, smell, touch, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and mind is known as Sarga, whereas subsequent resultant interaction of the modes of material nature is called Visarga. Purport: in order to explain the 10 divisional symptoms of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, there are 7 continuous verses. The first of these under reference pertains to the 16 elementary manifestations of earth, water, etc., with material ego composed of material intelligence, and mind, and the subsequent creation is a result of the reaction of above mentioned 16 energies of the first Purusha, the Mahavishnu incarnation of Govinda, as is later explained by Brahma in this treatise, the Brahma Samhita, as follows. यः कारणार्णवजले भजति स्म योग निद्राम् अनन्तजगदण्ड सरोमकूप आधार शक्तिम् अवलं भयपारम् अवलम्ब्य परां स्वमूर्तिं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि. Brahma Samhita 547. The first Purush incarnation of Govinda, Lord Krishna, known as the Mahavishnu, goes into a yoga nidra, mystic sleep, and the innumerable universes are situated in potency in each and every hair hole of his transcendental body. As is mentioned in the previous verse, Shrutena, or with reference to the Vedic conclusion, the creation is made possible from the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly by manifestation of his particular energy. Without such a Vedic reference, the creation appears to be a product of material nature, and this conclusion comes from a poor fund of knowledge. From Vedic reference, it is concluded that the origin of all energies, namely internal, external, and marginal, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as has been explained herein before, the illusory conclusion is that the creation is made by the inert material nature. The Vedic conclusion is transcendental life, whereas the non-Vedic conclusion is material darkness. The internal potency of the Supreme Lord is identical with the Supreme Lord, and the external potency is enlivened in contact with the internal potency. The parts and parcels of the internal potency which react in contact with the external potency are called the marginal potency or the living entities. Thus, the original creation is directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead or Param Brahman, and the secondary creation as can you go down? And the secondary creation as reactionary resultant of the original ingredients is made by Brahma, and the activities of the whole universe are thus started. Text 4. Text 4. Sthitir Vaikuntha Vijaya Poshanam Tad Anugraha Manvantarani Saddharma Utaya Karma Vashana. Synonyms: Sthiti, right situation; Vaikuntha, Vijaya, victory of the Lord of Vaikuntha; Poshanam, maintenance; Tatanugraha, his causeless mercy; Manvantarani, reigns of the Manus; Sadharma, perfect occupational duty; Utaya, impetus to work; Karma Vasana, desire for fruitive work. Translation: the right situation for the living entities is to obey the laws of the Lord and thus be in perfect peace of mind under the protection of Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Manus and their laws are meant to give right direction in life. The impetus of activity is the desire for fruitive work. Purport: this material world is created, maintained for some time, and again annihilated by the will of the Lord. The ingredients for creation and the subordinate creator Brahma are the first created by the Lord, by Lord Vishnu in his first and second incarnations. The first Purush incarnation is Mahavishnu, and the second Purush incarnation is the Garbhodaksha Vishnu, from whom Brahma is created. The third Purusha avatar is Kshirodaksha Vishnu, who lives as the super soul of everything in the universe and maintains the creation generated by Brahma. Shiva Shiva is one of the many sons of Brahma, and he annihilates the creation. Therefore, the original creator of the universe is Vishnu, and he is also maintainer of the created beings by his causeless mercy. As such, it is the duty of all conditioned souls to acknowledge the victory of the Lord and thus become pure devotees and live peacefully in this world, where, where miseries and dangers of life are always in existence. The conditioned souls who take this material creation as the place for satisfaction of the senses and thus are illusioned by external energy of Vishnu remain again to be subjected to laws of material nature, creation, and destruction. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that beginning from the topmost planet of the universe down to the lowest planet, the Pataloka, all are destructible and conditioned souls may travel in space either by good or bad work by the modern spacecraft, but they are sure to die everywhere. Although the duration of life in different planets is different, the only means to attain eternal life is to go back home, back to Godhead, where there is no more rebirth as in the material planets. The conditioned souls, being unaware of this very simple fact by forgetting the relationship with the Lord of Vaikuntha, try to plan try to plan out a permanent life in this material world, being illusioned by the external energy, and thus become engaged in various types of economic and religious development of life, forgetting that they are meant for going back home, back to Godhead. This forgetfulness is so strong due to the influence of Maya that the conditioned souls do not at all want to go back home, back to Godhead. By sense enjoyment, they become victims of birth and death repeatedly, and thus spoil human lives, which are chances for going back to Vishnu. The relative scriptures made by the Manus at different ages and millenniums are called Shadharma, good guidance for the human beings who should take up the advantage of all the scriptures on their own interest to make life's successful termination. The creation is not false, but it is a temporary manifestation just to give a chance for the conditioned souls to go back to Godhead. And the desire to go back to Godhead and functions performed in that directions are the right path of work. When such a regulative path is accepted, the Lord gives all protection to his devotees by his causeless mercy, while the non devotees risk their own activities to bind themselves up in the chain of fruitive reactions. The word Shadharma is significant in this connection. Shadharma, or duty performed for going back to Godhead and thus becoming his unalloyed devotee, is the only pious activity. All other may be pretendingly pious, but actually they are not so. It is for this reason only that the Lord advises in the Bhagavad Gita to give up all so-called religious activity and be completely engaged in devotional service of the Lord in order to become free from all anxieties due to the dangerous life of material existence. To work situated in the Shraddharma is the right direction of life. One's aim of life should be to go back home, back to Godhead, and not to be subjected to repeated birth and death in the material world by getting good or bad bodies for temporary existence herein. Herein lies the intelligence of human life, and one should desire the activities of life in that way. Hare Krishna. If someone else can read, continue reading. Thank you. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Yes, and
Oh, Haribol. Yes, Prabhu. Pranjal Prabhu, did you say you will read?
yeah,
Yes, Prabhu, please do read.
Avasaranam Sarisam Harisyanam Tumasam Sukta Jano Padmaram Incarnation of God. Some activities of the followers. Said, Nana, Kana, Thank you for the describe and okay, you can read.
Okay, translation. The Sons of God describes the incarnations of the personality of Godhead and his different activities together with the activities of his great devotees. Purport. During the course of existence of the cosmic manifestation, the chronology of history is created, recording the activities of the living entities. People in general have a tendency to learn history and narrations of different men and times, but due to lack of knowledge in the science of Godhead, they are not apt to study the history of the incarnations of the personality of Godhead. It should always be remembered that the material creation is created for the salvation of the conditioned souls. The merciful Lord, out of his causeless mercy, descends in the material world to various planets and acts for the salvation of the conditioned souls. That makes the history and narrations worth reading. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam offers such transcendental topics of the Lord in relationship with the great devotees. Therefore, the topics of the devotees and the Lord are to be given respectful oral reception. Nirodosyanushyayanam. Text number 6. Nirodosyayunashyanam atmana sahasyaktibihi muktirhitva na yatha rupam svarupena vyavashtiti. Nirodha, winding up of the cosmic manifestation, Asya, of his Anushayanam, lying down on the Purusha of the Purusha incarnation, Mahavishnu in mystic slumber, Atmanaha, of the living entity, Saha, along with Shakti, with the energies, Muktihi, liberation, Hitva, giving up, Anyata, otherwise, Rupam, form, Svarupena, in constitutional form, Vyavashtiti, permanent situation. Translation. When the living entity, along with its conditional living tendency, merges with the mystic lying down of the Mahavishnu, it is called the winding up of the cosmic manifestation. When the living entity, along with its conditional living tendency, merges with the mystic lying down of the Mahavishnu, it is called the winding up of the cosmic manifestation. Liberation is the permanent situation of the form of the living entity after giving up the changeable material gross and subtle bodies. Purport. As we have discussed several times, there are two types of living entities. Most of them are ever liberated or nitya-muktas, while some of them are ever conditioned. The ever conditioned souls are apt to develop a mentality of lording over the material nature, and therefore the material cosmic creation is manifested to give the ever conditioned souls two kinds of facilities. One facility is that the conditioned soul can act according to his tendency to lord it over the cosmic manifestation, and the other facility is to give a chance to the conditioned soul to come back to Godhead. So after winding up of the cosmic manifestation, most of the conditioned souls merge into the existence of Mahavishnu, personality of Godhead, lying in his mystic slumber, to be recreated again when there will be the next creation. But some of the conditioned souls who follow the transcendental sound in the form of Vedic literature and are thus able to go back to Godhead attain spiritual and original bodies after quitting the material conditional gross and subtle bodies. The material conditional bodies develop out of the living entity's forgetfulness of the relationship with Godhead. And during the courses of the cosmic manifestation, the conditioned souls are given a chance to revive their original statuses of life by the help of revealed scriptures, so mercifully compiled by the Lord in his different incarnations. Reading or hearing of such transcendental literatures helps one to become liberated even in the conditional state of material existence. The whole Vedic literatures aim at devotional service of the personality of Godhead, and as soon as one is fixed to this point, he at once becomes liberated from the conditional life. The material gross and subtle forms are simply due to ignorance of the conditional soul, and as soon as he is fixed in devotional service of the Lord, he becomes eligible to be freed from the conditioned state. This devotional service is transcendental attraction for the Supreme on account of the latter's being the source of all pleasing humors. This devotional service is transcendental attraction for the Supreme on account of the latter's being the source of all pleasing humors. Everyone is after some pleasure of humor for enjoyment, but does not know the supreme source of all attraction. Raso vaisara samkhya evayam labdva nandi bhavati. The Vedic hymns inform everyone about the supreme source of all pleasure. The unlimited fountainhead of all pleasure is the personality of Godhead, and one who is fortunate enough to get this information through the transcendental literatures like Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam becomes permanently liberated to occupy one's proper place in the kingdom of God. Haribol. Okay, now we go to the Damodarashtakam. I think this is the final day. Or is it?
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. Yes, Prabhu.
नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपं लसत्कुण्डलं गोकुले व्राजमानं यशोदाभियोलुकलाब्धवमानं परं मृष्टमत्यन्ततो धृतगोप्या
रुदन्तं मुहुर्नेत्रयुग्मं मृजन्तं करं भोजयुग्मेन सातङ्कनेत्रं मुहुःश्वासकम्पात्रिरेकाङ्ककान्ता स्थिताग्रैवं दामोदरं भक्तिपादम्
इति दृक्स्वलीलाभिरानन्दकुण्डे स्वघोषं निमज्जन्दमाख्यापयन्दं तदीये सिदाज्ञे सुभक्तेर्गिदत्वं पुनः प्रेमतस्तं सदा वृत्तिवन्दे
वरं देवमोक्षं नामोक्षमदिं वा न चन्यं वृणेऽहं वरेषदपिह इदं ते वपुर्नाथ गोपालबालं सदा मे मनस्याविर्षं किमन्ये
इदं ते मुखाम्भोजम् अत्यन्तलीलैर्वृतं कुन्तलैः स्निग्धरक्तैश्च गोप्या मुहुचुम्बितं बिम्बरक्ताधरं मे मनस्या विरास्तं अलं लक्षलाभैः।
नमो देवदामोदर अनन्तविष्णु प्रसीद प्रभो दुःखजलाब्धिमग्नं कृपादृष्टिवृष्टातिदीनं बतानुद्गृहाणेशमामग्नमिदाक्षिदृश्य
कुबेरात्मजौ बद्धमूर्तिव यद्वत् त्वया मोचितौ भक्तिभाजौ कृतौ च तदा प्रेमभक्तिं स्वकां मे प्रयच्छ न मोक्षे गृहो मेऽस्ति दामोदरेह।
नमस्ते स्तुधाम्ने स्पृहादीप्तिधाम्ने त्वदीयोधराय अथ विश्वस्य धाम्ने नमो राधिकायै त्वदीयप्रियायै नमो नन्तलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यम्।
Translation. To the Supreme Lord, whose form is the embodiment of eternal existence, knowledge, and bliss, whose shark shaped earrings are swinging to and fro, who is beautifully shining in the divine realm of Gokula, who, due to the offense of breaking the pot of yogurt that his mother was churning into butter, and then stealing the butter that was kept hanging from a swing, he is quickly running from the wooden grinding mortar in fear of Mother Yashoda, but who has been caught from behind by her, who ran after him with great speed. To the Supreme Lord, Sri Damodara, I offer my humble obeisances.
Seeing the whipping stick in his mother's hand, he is crying and rubbing his eyes again and again with his two lotus hands. His eyes are filled with fear, and the necklace of pearls around his neck, which is marked with 3 lines like a conch shell, is shaking because of his quick breathing due to crying. To this Supreme Lord Sri Damodara, whose belly is bound not with ropes but with his mother's pure love, I offer my humble obeisances.
By such childhood pastimes as this, he is drowning the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy, and is revealing to those devotees who are absorbed in knowledge of his supreme majesty and opulence that he is only conquered by devotees whose pure love is imbued with intimacy and is free from all conceptions of awe and reverence. With great love, I again offer my obeisances to Lord Damodar hundreds and hundreds of times.
O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for the boon of impersonal liberation, nor the highest liberation of eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon which may be obtained by executing the 9 processes of bhakti. O Lord, I simply wish that this form of yours as Bal Gopal in Vrindavan may ever be manifest in my heart, for what is the use to me of any other boon besides this?
O Lord, your lotus face, which is encircled by locks of soft black hair tinged with red, is kissed again and again by Mother Yashoda, and your lips are reddish like the bimbat fruit. May this beautiful vision of your lotus face be ever manifest in my heart. Thousands and thousands of other benedictions are of no use to me.
O Supreme Godhead, I offer my obeisance unto you, O Dhamodara, O Ananta, O Vishnu, O Master, O my Lord. Be pleased upon me. By showering your glance of mercy upon me, deliver this poor ignorant fool who is immersed in an ocean of worldly sorrows and become visible to my eyes.
O Lord Damodar, just as the 2 sons of Kuera, Manikriva and Nalkuera, were delivered from the curse of Narada and made into great devotees by you in your form as a baby tied with rope to a wooden grinding mortar, in the same way, please give to me your own Prema Bhakti. I only long for this and have no desire for any kind of liberation.
O Lord Damodara, I first of all offer my obeisances to the brilliantly effulgent rope which binds your belly. I then offer my obeisances to your belly, which is the abode of the entire universe. I humbly bow down to your most beloved Srimati Radharani, and I offer all obeisances to you, the Supreme Lord, who displays unlimited pastimes. Damodarashtam ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Cheto darpanamarjanam भवमहादावाग्निर्वापनं श्रेयः कैरवचन्द्रिका वितरणं विद्यावधूजीवनम् अनन्तं बुद्धिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतस्वदनं सर्वात्मस्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्णसङ्कीर्तनम्
नाम्नामकारि बहुधा निज सर्वशक्तिस् तत्रार्पिता नियमिता स्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैव ईदृशं ह्याजनि नानुरागः
तृणादपि सुनिचेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुना अमानिना मानदेन कीर्तनीयः सदा हरि
न धनं न
न
जनं
धनं
न तरिं कवितं वा जगदीश कामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवताद्भक्तिरहैतुकी त्वयि
ऐनन्दतनुजा किङ्करं पतितां मां विषमय भवाम्बुधौ कृपया तव पादपङ्कजस्थितधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तय।
नयनं गरदश्रुधारया वदनं हृदया गिरा पुलकैर्निशितं वपुः कदा तव नाम ग्रहणे भविष्यति
युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्राविर्ष्यायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे
आश्लिष्य
आश्लेष्य
वा
वा पादरतान् पिनष्टु माम् अदर्शनां मर्महतां करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विदधातु लम्पटौ मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव नापरः।
Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by chanting your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
one should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the stone in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth.
O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms of your lotus feet.
O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name?
Oh Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly in his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shri Siksastakam ki jai, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Bahujanma Kareyadi Shavana Kirtan, Tabutvanapaya Krishna Pade Premadan. If one is infested with the 10 offenses in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, despite his endeavor to chant the holy name for many birds, he will not get the love of God. That is the ultimate goal of this chanting. The 10 offenses against the holy name are as follows. The first offense is to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord.
Second offense is to consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu.
Third offense to disobey the orders of the spiritual master.
Fourth
Fourth
offense is to blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version.
Fifth offense, to consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination.
Sixth offense, to give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord.
Seventh offense
Seventh,
is to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name of the Lord.
eighth offense, to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, karma kanda.
Ninth offense, to instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name.
10th offense is not to have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema.
Let us offer humble obeisance, respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They can fulfill the desires of everyone just like desired trees, and are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha
Patitanam
Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
and the Gaudiya Vaishnavita ki
Vaishnava
jai,
ki jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari
Hari Hari
Bol.
Bol.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for reading
Thank you.
again.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.